Live now to political reporter Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, we know this is all on the table since those big protests. Farmers were here in Canberra making their message heard. What actually happened in the meeting today?
Well, Tom, they were able to get the federal minister is quite happy that he was able to keep all states at the table when it comes to this Murray-Darling Basin Plan. You'll recall that New South Wales had been threatening to withdraw from this basin plan entirely after much pressure they have faced from farmers in their state. But it certainly hasn't been universal agreement at this meeting today in Brisbane. In the last half an hour or so, we've heard from all the ministers out of this, and there is significant pushback against the federal government's plan to review water sharing arrangements by the Inspector General, Mick Coulty. David Littleproud had been pushing in this meeting today for additional powers to be granted to Mick Coulty to look under the hood of this agreement and look at some of the water sharing arrangements that are currently in place. But he has faced significant pushback at the table today. Victoria, South Australia and even Queensland coming out pretty strongly and saying they don't agree that there should be this additional review, that the powers that he already have are enough when it comes to compliance in this deal. He says he's going to continue, nonetheless, that David Littleproud says he made a commitment to farmers to conduct this sort of broader inquiry, but he's received significant pushback, it must be said.
There are still some issues, and all the states aside from New South Wales indicated their reluctance to participate and their unwillingness to participate in a review of water shares. We don't want to be penalised because we manage our water system well, and we won't be participating in that water share review by the Inspector General, nor will some of the other states.
We had a significant concern that opening up water sharing arrangements would be opening a Pandora's box, creating false expectations up and down the community, and really resulting in a situation where confidence in the plan could be knocked as a consequence.
Well, if there's no issue, then I'll be confident that Mick Coulty will find that. If they're so confident, let the sunshine in, have a look at it, and you'll get confirmation from an independent, eminent Australian and his agency.
There was one state willing to let the sunshine in, that's New South Wales. They have said today that they're happy for Mick Coulty to look under the bonnet. Melinda Pavey, the minister, said today she's happy to comply with that sort of review. But New South Wales had a different message when it came out of this meeting today. They're making it very clear that they are not going to be able to provide water as part of this 450 gigalitres in terms of environmental flows through the basin. Melinda Pavey says that's simply not on the table for the states, but they have walked away from what we had heard just a few weeks ago, that they were willing to leave the Murray-Darling Basin Plan entirely. The minister today says that's no longer the case.
We are still in the plan, but we have had major wins and major concessions here today to acknowledge the challenges that New South Wales has faced, having done the lion's share of work. But we have made it very clear today, we don't have that 450 to give.
Well, thanks for all being here, and we are still all here. We are still in the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, despite conjecture and a lot of noise from commentators that it was all about to fall over. The states are still here. We're still working through one of the biggest environmental programs in our nation's history.
And Tom, they were able to reach some form of agreement when it comes to this basin plan. All states agreeing to write to the ACCC so they can look into monopoly arrangements in the basin, but also look at the level of foreign ownership of water in the system.
Trudy McIntosh, thank you. Going to take you live now. Mick Coulty, the man who probably won't be having that review, at least for now, is speaking after this meeting. Let's have a listen in.
Of course it makes it more difficult. I've reached out to all of the states and all of the departments seeking their cooperation, offering the opportunity for them to second people to the inquiry. The inquiry clearly is an outcome of the discussion between the Federal Minister and the people who were demonstrating in Canberra some 3 weeks ago. Those people have a high level of expectation that there will be an inquiry, and you don't need powers to conduct the inquiry. If I get to a point where we're unable to find the facts, then I'll simply shine a light on that and call it out.
The South Australian Minister says that it's not the sharing arrangements but the compliance that's the problem, and he's against an inquiry into the sharing arrangements. He says it would open a Pandora's box.
Well, I guess what I need to do as an independent person and as the inquirer is to not preempt the outcome of the inquiry. So let's find out if the plans and the policies are the problem. Let's find out if there is water available that hasn't been made available. But we don't know until we have the inquiry, and I don't think that we can preempt the outcome.
Will the inquiry also look at compliance measures or just the procedures of water sharing?
Well, it will look at the availability of water, and one of the key issues that's been raised by the protagonists is that when water sharing plans were put together, nobody anticipated nothing coming in from the northern parts of the basin. And as everyone knows, for the last 2 years there's been no water flowing in the northern part of the basin. So whether plans were predicated on a set of circumstances that no longer exists or doesn't exist today is something that an inquiry will find out.
How do you feel about New South Wales saying they cannot contribute?
And keep watching that. Mick Kilty there speaking up at that meeting in Brisbane. Look,